A second new soccer stadium for Miami? Who's the most hated coach in MLS? And the first window of World Cup ticket purchasing process slams shut today. That and much, much more on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favorite country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm local soccer guy Robert Kerr. He's radio soccer guy Jason Davis. Thanks for joining us. How you feeling, partner?
I'm good. It's Friday. We made it. We're here. It is time to talk about stadiums. It is time to talk about games. Fab Four coming up. We also have a return guest off the back of our discussion around World Cup tickets, which I know people are very interested in. So I think this one's good, and we're going to celebrate our members today, the MK Ultras.
Yeah, we got some good stuff for the Ultras. As you can see at the ticker at the bottom, join the Ultras. Just a few bucks a month gets you access to the Discord server, early access to videos, and plenty of bonus content. This last week or so has been a bumper crop of stuff for the MK Ultras, trying to do our utmost for those who do the utmost for us. And with that in mind, let's get to the content. Let's kick those long balls here on Friday morning on Morning Kickaround. Welcome in Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround, kicking off with our long balls. Be sure to subscribe as we get going here. But news, big news broken by Miami Herald's Michelle Kaufman. Leo Messi, we've heard of him, reportedly has signed a new deal after lengthy negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are certainly cynical takes on how Major League Soccer may have fumbled the bag a bit on having Lionel Messi here in America. We can talk about the Apple TV deal and paywalls and walled gardens and the lack of reach and all those things, but I think it is undeniable that Lionel Messi in Major League Soccer is a good thing for Major League Soccer. And if he wants to keep playing, if he's not done yet, if he's not ready to hang up his boots, then of course you want to keep him. Jorge Mas, desperate to keep him because they're opening up a brand new stadium next year in Miami, and you want to have Lionel Messi inaugurate your stadium. You want forever that stadium to be called the building that Messi built, even if technically it was already in progress before Messi arrived, even if they had already gotten all the stuff done. And remember, it was a lengthy thing to get a place for them to build a stadium. So to have the best player of all time, the most famous player on the planet, wearing your colors on your new field was very important. And there's no, look, the other part of this, Rob, is he's still good enough. You got to surround him with pieces that can make it work, but he's still good enough.
Yeah, clearly he's breaking records for consecutive games with braces and goals and all that. And definitely a big contributor to the Inter Miami side, and still holds sizable weight in the MLS structure going into the postseason now and then into the future. Without Messi here, the whole kind of Eastern Conference of Major League Soccer kind of takes a bit of a paradigm shift. What is Miami without Messi? That's a big question that still looms. But yes, obviously that's a huge checking the box, having Messi secured in Miami when they get a brand new stadium. Question to you, will one of these stands be labeled him, and will they have a no pickup after yourself policy? It'll be the Messi stand.
That is a terrible dad joke, and I almost want to quit the show right now just because of that. I almost
walk away now.
That was terrible. Okay, so what I would say to the part about the stand is maybe his name will be somewhere. Clearly, it'll be lots of images of Lionel Messi around the building. I wonder if Jorge Mas is already having a statue commissioned to put out front of Miami Freedom Park of Lionel Messi, despite the fact he's only been there for a short period of time. And look, he did bring a couple of trophies to Miami. You know, a Leagues Cup title and a supporter shield. Those aren't nothing for a club as young as Miami is. I think that, again, if you're cynical, if you are kind of looking at this through an analytical lens, you could be like, well, I don't know if it's smart for them to put so many eggs in that particular basket, right? Especially and beyond that, to have Messi and friends, right? To have him, it's not just Lionel Messi. It is obviously Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba and Luis Suarez, and we know how badly that's gone recently with Luis Suarez. So, man, you can say this might not set them up for long-term sporting success down the road, that Inter Miami may be hamstrung when Messi retires, when all of this comes crashing down and they have to rebuild. But for the moment, of course you lean into Lionel Messi. It would be ridiculous not to.
Yeah, it sure would be. And I'm curious to see what sort of naming or anything like that. And I imagine, like in the article, great reporting here. I'd love to get local reporters getting the scoops rather than national guys every now and again. But the 38-year-old Argentine legend confirmed to have, or sources say that he's agreed to terms to a multi-year contract.
That
So
part,
not
right?
just
That's the part that stands out, because Lionel Messi is no spring chicken. Like, how many years does he have left before he is out, before his body won't let him do it anymore, before he's out of gas? Now, I don't think players in general like signing one-year contracts. Clubs don't like one-year contracts. I mean, again, for Miami, even if Lionel Messi decides after 2026, all right, that's it, I'm done. And by the way, his international future sort of looms large over this,
I feel like I
right?
saw a quote where he even doubted himself being able to be there, which is the first time I saw any sort of admission that it's even debatable whether he's going to make it.
Well, I think a lot of that came from the emotion of what will probably be his final game in Argentina in an official capacity, right? When they played their last World Cup qualifier, and Argentina finished top of the CONMEBOL standing, so already coasting into the World Cup. But he went down and played. I can't remember where that game was. I think it was at Estadio Monumental, which I think is River Plate's building. But he was sort of emotional after it. Obviously, that was for the nation, that was a big deal, right? A nation that has gone from one end of the spectrum to the other with Lionel Messi, because until he started winning things, he was no Maradona.
Yeah,
He
they were
wasn't
not
up.
super nice to him down there, were they?
Yeah, exactly. They were kind of judging him real harshly. Again, remember, he left at 11, 12 years old to go to the Barcelona academy. So they hadn't really formed a relationship with him yet. Then he wins things. Then he brings the World Cup back to Argentina. Of course, he's the greatest of all time. So they had that emotional moment. And afterwards, when asked about his future with the national team, whether he would be playing in a World Cup in the United States in 2026, he did express some doubt. He said, time's not on my side. I mean, I think, he probably is aware that his body is going to stop working the way he wants it to. Maybe it already has. He doesn't run much, right? It's just those things, that stuff. It's very up in the air whether he is going to be in the World Cup next year. But what's not up in the air if he gets this deal done is that he'll be an Inter Miami player. And while I have my doubts that he'll be as effective long term, if they get 2 years out of him, that's a win for Inter Miami.
Yeah, no doubt at all. And imagine having that sort of leverage that Messi does when you go into a new job negotiation, that, clearly they want you to stay and clearly they want you to be there while they have a building project underway.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
some major leverage there. And
The
at
joke,
38, he has 28 goals and 13 assists this year. So it's not like the numbers are dwindling and they can be like,
no.
well, Leo, I don't know, you're fading out. We don't know.
Right, that's the other thing. Again, like, the numbers say that he's incredible. He's going to be, he's going to be in that conversation for MVP. In fact, yesterday, as I watched some people on Blue Sky talk about their picks, I think Michele Giannone, who broadcasts for MLS in Spanish, was saying, I'm going to go ahead and make my picks now, a month out, just to kind of see where we're at when we finish this season. And he was saying, I think Anders Dreyer should be the MVP, but I'm almost positive Lionel Messi will win it, because as good as Anders Dreyer has been, and he is up there in goals, but also leading the league in assists and been incredibly important to San Diego, Lionel Messi is Lionel Messi. And right now he is 1 goal back of Sam Surridge for the lead in the Golden Boot race.
Yeah, another Sam Surridge, another dark horse for that honor. And we'll get to his Fab Four pick when we get to that part of the show. But Jonah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Getting in there with the contribution. Thank you so much. Very appreciated. Moving on to long ball number 2 here on Friday. Last week or earlier in the week, Caleb Porter dismissed as the head coach for the New England Revolution. And what, that was kind of like in the cards for a little bit, but the quotes that have come out since, there's some quotes listed in an article by Pros International, some anonymous, some on the record are pulled from some social media posts. But I was pretty taken aback. I know it's been, known that Caleb Porter wasn't always the most popular. And as a coach, it's one of those jobs it's impossible to please everybody. But one that really, I got my eyebrows up to my hairline. Nobody loves him, and he forgets that we have family and our people. And that's pretty damning for a coach who, that's a people business.
Yes. This is scorched earth. This is dump out the notebook, everything you've heard when it comes to Caleb Pongratz, who wrote it up for Prost International. Like, obviously, there are people who feel a little hard done by when it comes to Caleb Porter's treatment, the people who didn't like the way he handled himself. If you've been around MLS, if you've covered MLS, if you've worked with the teams that Caleb Porter has managed, this is not a surprise. This is kind of who Caleb Porter is. I try not to kind of get wrapped up in whether I like somebody or not. Right? That shouldn't matter to me.
The artist, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm a radio guy. It's not, sometimes you express an opinion based on something somebody does publicly, right? Somebody says something, somebody acts. Luis Suarez does something horrible. You're rightfully going to call that out when you talk about it on the radio, when you write about it. When you don't know what's going on behind the scenes and everything is secondhand information, everything is, it's scuttlebutt. It is one or two layers removed. Maybe you hear a rumor from somebody. Oh, do you know about this guy? He does this thing, or this guy's bad in the locker room, or whatever. When that stuff happens, I don't love engaging with it because it doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know firsthand. How do I know if Caleb Porter's a jerk in the locker room or treats his players poorly or isn't this or isn't that? I'm not there on a day-to-day basis. But clearly we have here some players, including Maxi Arruti and I think Luis Diaz, not that one, the other one, who says, that Caleb Porter is not a guy who handled his business well, that he wasn't up front with them, that he told them one thing and then did another, that, there was drama there and people just, and Caleb Porter just didn't handle himself. Now, what I can tell you, right, we're kind of like building this a little bit, a case, I guess, against Caleb Porter based on this. What I have heard, what I have been told, and again, I kind of accept this as true, even if I'm not comfortable going into air with it all the time. But here we go. We got some sources. Is this what Caleb Porter does? Caleb Porter is a guy who cares very much about his reputation and how he's perceived. And in this story, it talks about him telling his players to refute stories that were in the media. Mm-hmm. Him going between tweets, articles regarding the team, overall news, injuries outside of training. I was asked at least 3 times to refute something, stated a player. One player said, this is anonymous, out of all my coaches, he's the one that focused on the external the most. Yeah. Mentioned articles at training, telling us not to listen to it, but would mention it and make it bigger by doing so. He told me, as well as other players, to respond back to a social media post that was negative about him. It's unreal. He focuses on the outside noise more than anyone. Thin skin, Caleb Porter, always.
And that would be uncomfortable to be a coach and be in such a public position, such a position that people criticize all the time, and then have thin skin. That would be just an uncomfortable existence.
Right. Again, and we got some aggrieved people here. And this is as he goes out the door with the team that did not have a good season. But again, just to kind of make sure that we're being fair to everybody. Nate says, one of our ultras, shout out to Nate, my wife is a professor. If you believed everything the 2% of disgruntled students write about her anonymously, you would think she's an awful person. She's not, right? So again, that's where you kind of have to be careful with some of this stuff because it is rumor stuff, right? It is, again, some people are not putting their names on these comments that Caleb is writing up at Prost International. But this is not new for people who have been around MLS. This is not a surprise to hear that Caleb Porter was acting like this. And you go back and you look at some of the interviews that he did and the way he talks, and he comes off as a guy who's pretty full of himself. He comes as a guy who's pretty intent on manipulating a narrative around him, that he is next level, right? Next level as a soccer mind, right? You remember the high profile moment that he had where he tried to shake Pep Guardiola's hand in MLS All-Star game in Portland when Pep was coaching Bayern Munich, and Pep just flat out negged him, wouldn't shake his hand. That had a lot to do with the way that game played out with some aggressive aggressive MLS tackling. But Caleb is a guy who thinks he's on that level, or at least that he is, that he has the chops to be referenced as a genius. Now, remember also, he oversaw a failure in Olympic qualifying for the United States men's national team. He does have two MLS Cup titles, but the sense is, the perception is that he kind of lucked into those titles. Those though they weren't so much about him as they were about some other things around him. Now, that's probably not completely fair. He had some role to play. Certainly the Portland title. Columbus, man, I don't know. That thing unraveled pretty quickly. If you win a title and you can't keep your job for more than a year and a half, something's wrong with that.
Also shout out, I was there when he lost to Detroit City FC in the Open Cup, and there was plenty of supporters for Columbus calling him out, wanted him gone after that.
Yeah, he also, this goes back to his days at Akron, where he was head coach of the University of Akron, and they had players like Darlington Nagbe in that team, and they were known as a team that, this is during the height of the Barcelona tiki-taka era, and I think Caleb Porter was trying to bring tiki-taka to college soccer or something like that. If you can do such a thing, that was what he was doing, and I think there's even a video, if you go look for it. There's a video that I remember watching. I don't know if it's still there on YouTube, like Death by 1,000 Passes or something. And it was a University of Akron videos about their college soccer team when Caleb Porter was there. I can't find it now, and maybe it doesn't exist, but I do remember him being built up as not just a guy who could win games, but a guy who played a style, a guy who brought something extra to American soccer that we didn't have a lot of. And the era that he moved into MLS and got the Portland job and all those things, there was a sense that Major League Soccer was pretty uniform and pretty boring tactically, that everybody basically did the same thing. Now, that's not true anymore. That has changed dramatically. But at the time, he kind of stood out as this guy who maybe could bring some spice to MLS. And again, he's won 2 titles. Can't take that away from him. But it clearly didn't work in New England.
You're talking about being fortuitous, and you're talking about all those different stops and where he had success. Darlington Nagbe, his relationship with him might be his, one of his top achievements that has led to his success because, he made his name at Akron where Nagbe was, and he won in Portland where Nagbe was. So the diamond in the rough did well for Coach Porter. Just a couple other ones to note. One anonymous player said he treated a ton of players poorly. He's crazy, and he treated me very badly. And that's part of the nobody loves him and forgets that we are people too. And then he would always have random outbursts every other training session, and it was usually targeted. Nick Lima bore a brunt of the abuse, as well as Ryan Spalding in 2024.
Okay. I also point out that it wasn't that long ago that Carlos Hill went public with something needs to change at this club. So your star player, former MVP, says something needs to change, and then something does. Now, I'd be anxious to see if Kurt Onalfo keeps his job, because he's the CSO, the chief soccer officer, the guy who, decides the players and recruits and all that stuff. And you presume that he's going to be the guy who picks the next coach. But he picked Caleb Porter, and that didn't work. And sometimes those GMs don't survive when the guy they pick. Now, he also, Kurt Onalfo, to be fair, had to deal with the Bruce Arena, Richie Williams situation that exploded on him because they had everything in place. And Onalfo was there as part of Bruce's team and then elevated to the job after Bruce left because Bruce was doing both in New England, if my memory is correct. So then he becomes the guy. They pick Caleb Porter. Now it's a disaster and it's exploding in their faces. And you just wonder who might even be interested in this job. And Jim Curtin's name is getting mentioned quite a bit in our chat this morning. And Spencer is asking, is there a chance Curtin won't take the Revs job with an eye on the U.S. men's national team post-poach? I don't know if Jim Curtin can think that far ahead and sort of presume anything about his candidacy for the U.S. men's national team job. I don't know. I think he should be up for it, but I don't know that he necessarily can assume he will be. And then that way that dictates his path here. I just be very wary of the Revs job. Unless they get that, unless the stadium deal gets done, completely done in Everett, and they know it's going to happen, and you can be the coach that takes them to that new stadium and sort of reboots completely the New England Revolution, I don't know why you wouldn't want to take that job right now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. Just a one-word answer from you. Did an alpha give Porter enough pieces to be successful? Yes or no?
They had talent to be better. Yes, I think they had talent to be better than they were. Yes.
All right. We shall see what happens in New England. Moving on to long ball number 3 here on Friday. And as is tradition, it is the Fab Four games of the weekend where myself, Jason, producer Jenny, and you, the chat, the members of the channel, pick the 4 games, the top 4 American games of the weekend. I see a couple entrants already. As we do this, be sure to give thanks or join as a member as we get going. You get priority commenting with your membership as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just recognizing that I'm about to throw a bit of a curveball at producer Jenny and change my Fab Four pick. So you can go ahead, Rob, and then we'll get to the choice I'm making.
All right. I'll lead with the top pick of the weekend, a selfish pick. I'm doing a father-son trip to Columbus versus Toronto, and it's also a friend's trip as well. Good friend and MK Ultra is finally moving on from his season ticket holding, so it's one of the late season games. So I thought we'd make a big trip out there, and we're bringing the kiddos. So as far as the game is concerned, Columbus slipping down the table in the Eastern Conference. So when we bought the tickets, they were in the top 2 or 3 teams, but have since slid down the table. So it'll be big for Coach Nancy and the Columbus Crew to get a victory over the beleaguered Toronto FC.
Yeah, you can't be losing to Toronto if you think of yourself as an MLS Cup contender. Absolutely. Nope. And yeah, you're right. It has gone sideways for Columbus. And the way they lost that game against NYCFC with the late goal that gave NYCFC 3 important points, and we'll get to them in a second.
They almost lost a 5-goal lead last weekend too, don't forget.
That's true. They gave a bunch of goals to Atlanta and nearly gave up a lead they had created for themselves. So it's feast or famine right now for Columbus. And Daniel Gazdag hasn't quite hit the heights that they maybe hoped after that trade from Philadelphia, which I'm sure the Philly fans are kind of snickering about because I think there were some Philly fans who maybe weren't as high on Gazdag as maybe the rest of the league was. I don't think Columbus can be completely discounted because we've seen them find ways to do this. But yeah, this game might tell us something. At home against Toronto, full points necessary, comprehensive victory. Absolutely.
Yeah, can't wait to show the kiddos this because I've gone to USL2 games, DCFC games. Those are awesome, unique American soccer experience, but there's a difference between 7,000 and 20,000 plus in Columbus.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Thomas, who is pointing out that technically speaking, this is a rivalry game between Columbus and Toronto.
The bad blood between Columbus, Ohio, and Toronto.
Well, but he's pointing out something. Okay, so he's saying the Trillium Cup. Now, first of all, do you know what Trillium is?
It is a plant or a flower of some sort?
It is a flower, yes. Rob knows. Give Rob a ding.
I only know that because of my friend Luke.
Okay, but do you know why the match between Toronto and Columbus is called the Trillium Cup?
I do not.
Okay, I believe, and Mike Thomas might be able to correct me if he knows, I believe the Trillium or whatever is like the state flower of Ohio and the official flower of Ontario or something like that. Like there's something shared there that they both have a connection to this flower, and therefore back then when Major League Soccer had way fewer teams and there weren't obvious rivalries to be had, they were like, oh, Toronto and Columbus is a rivalry. Now, there is some actual bad blood history. There have been police incidents around this game at the Old Crew Stadium. Friend of mine, Dwayne Rollins, has stories about going down to Columbus from Toronto to follow the team in the early days of Toronto FC, and there being, being a little bit of a problem between the fans and with the police and those kind of things. So it's not like there's nothing here.
Well,
but I just don't think it's
that playoff series, though, when Michael Bradley and that crew were still in Toronto, and it was Save the Crew movement for Columbus. That I think it was a 2-legged quarter or semifinal playoff. That was one of my favorite all-time moments for watching Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I'm vaguely remembering that series. I also remember that was the era in which Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore were getting booed out of stadiums.
Yes.
because
Yeah,
of what
and then
happened
Michael
in
Bradley had
Trinidad.
that quote in the locker room saying, "Well, maybe they wouldn't have to save the crew if more fans showed up."
Which is kind of
Which
a it's kind of a thing I like it. I mean, I like this. I like the
definitely gave
trash
us something
talk
to talk
element.
about.
Yeah. All right. My turn. I'll go briefly before we get producer Jenny in here. I'm going to take NYCFC in Charlotte. Now, I had a different game in the Eastern Conference at first, but I'm switching to this one because when you look at the standings, this one's got more weight to it. NYCFC is on a bit of a heater. They just beat Columbus, as we talked about, and Charlotte is on fire. Hottest team in Major League Soccer, just winning. Last time out for them was a 3-0 over Inter Miami. Now, no Luis Suarez, but Lionel Messi was on the field for that one, and they romped Inter Miami. Messi did miss a chance or two he probably should have taken, which makes you wonder about his form right now. But this one matters because if NYCFC wins this game, they could jump into the top 4. And what does that mean, Rob? Top 4 in the conference in Major League Soccer.
Is that first round bye or a home field advantage?
Home field advantage in the playoffs when you get there. So I think, for that first round of the playoffs proper, you will be at home. I think, obviously, this is an NYCFC team that we've been up and down on all year. The Charlotte team we've been up and down on all year. So maybe this is going to give us a little bit of a sense of which of these teams is a true MLS Cup contender. Toklamati, the guy who's kind of had to step in to replace Patrick Ajuang after that sale, has been incredible. It was a hat trick for him against Inter Miami. So keep an eye on Toklamati.
Yeah, Charlotte specializing in ace number 9s with last names that are a little tricky to pronounce.
For
So
you, baby. Toklamati, Ashamang. What are you talking? I'm just kidding.
You're nailing it. That's why you're the pro, Mr. Davis. And then for the third pick of the Fab Four, let's bring in producer Jenny. I went Columbus, Toronto. He went with that pick. And then what you got?
NYCFC Charlotte, Rob. That's the one you couldn't remember. Yes, Jenny, what do you got?
Yes. I'm going to go down into the lower leagues, into USL League One, and take AV Alta against South Georgia Tormenta. We've talked about AV Alta and their fun story as an expansion team in League One this year. And this game is a playoff 6-pointer. AV Alta in 8th place with 31 points. South Georgia right behind them with 29 points. Part of what makes this match so intriguing isn't just the fact that the winner will kind of hold on to that last playoff spot, but it's also a very big contrast in form. AV Alta, 3 draws, 2 losses in their last 5 games, whereas South Georgia Tormenta, one of the league's hottest teams, have won 4 of their last 5 to get themselves back into the playoff race. So will AV Alta be able to turn it around, or will South Georgia head across the country to Southern California and keep their hot form going and climb into a playoff spot?
Good pick. Good
Not
pick.
bad at all. Thank you, producer Jenny. Always love your contribution.
Shout out by the way, shout out to MK Ultra Tyler Spaz. That's his handle. I don't know if his last name is probably not that, but he's in our he's in our Discord, and we're asking people to tell us, generally speaking, where they are, so we can dot the map. It says it there on the screen. We're dotting the map with our listeners, with our viewers, with the people engaged in this show, and some other things we're doing. And we got Tyler in Lancaster, so I'm imagining he might be out at this game between AV Alta and South Georgia Tormenta, Rob. So that could be cool.
So fourth pick of the Fab Four is for the people. So looking and dipping into the chat, let's see if there's any contributions from any members before we get to the actual chatters.
Let's shout out Jonah. Jonah, who's right there, $4.99. Thank you, Jonah. That's incredible. His Fab Four pick outside of American soccer, but definitely worth talking about. Rob is interested in this game. It's a Merseyside derby. This is at the new place. What's the name of that place? The building in there, in the new stadium?
I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I did like the commentary during the first game. They went from a museum to a spaceship. I thought that was a fun commentary on the stage.
It is called Hill Dickinson Stadium, which is probably the most college football sounding stadium name in English football and English soccer.
Not.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like that. So shout out to Jonah, who's picking the Merseyside derby. I see we do have some American selections. I think in the
I got Andy with Hartford versus Pittsburgh. That's a tasty one.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference USL Championship. We have another MLS pick, Philadelphia and New England. I'm guessing Chris is just interested in one of those teams, because why would you pick that game otherwise? Okay, I guess there is a point in there. I can't remember. Okay, this is from Chris. This is what it's about. Philly needs points for the Supporter Shield, and their form has gone in the toilet recently. Obviously, getting bounced by in the U.S. Open Cup, the 7-0 in Vancouver, which is about rotating, but also just a bad performance. They need to build some confidence if they're going to be not only a Supporter Shield winner, but also a contender for MLS Cup when we get to the playoffs. Ryan's got Hearts of Pine versus FC Naples. That's a nice one. That's like the opposite ends of the East Coast. You can't go further apart, really. I mean, I guess you could go down Miami, but in terms of League One, this is what we got: Hearts of Pine and FC Naples. And I will mention as well, before we move on, because I know we're going to talk some other topics today. Hearts of Pine people, they're really excited about the possibility of Morning Kickaround going on the road to Maine. I'm not saying anything is definitely happening. I'm just saying that people are excited. That's all. I won't commit to anything. I'll just say people are excited, Rob.
Exciting times ahead as we dot the map. Supporters of this show, American soccer teams, we're on the mission to dot the map here on Morning Kickaround. Thank you, Fab Four. Thank you, chat, for getting in there with your picks. And exciting weekend of soccer's ahead. I see our guest is waiting in the wings, so we're going to take our breath and bring in travel football fan to talk about the Phase 1 of World Cup ticket sales presented by Visa Lottery Draft window slamming shut. We're going to talk Hot Topic here on Morning Kickaround. Hang on. Welcome into Hot Topic here on Morning Kicker, and not just your favorite store at the mall. It is the hottest segment of the day. I'm Robert Kerr, in the middle, Jason Davis on the far side, our expert on World Cup tickets. It's a convoluted process. We had you on, and you gave us great information about the opening of this window, but 11 o'clock today, the door slammed shut. Welcome on in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming back. So last time, as Rob said, last time we talked to you, we were on the eve, essentially, of the opening of the first phase. That was your word. I'm guessing that's what FIFA call a phase.
That is phase, right. It is a phase at the end of the day, yes.
Visa card holders getting an opportunity. So how did it go? Let's take stock.
Yeah, how's it going? How's it going?
What curse word can I use? No, it was a total cluster F, to say the least, for the first 4 hours. Okay, so what happened is that Infantino was drumming up support, several hours before. I think the day before, he's like, "Hey, a big thing's happening tomorrow." I was like, "We know it's the phase 1." 11 a.m. comes around, no email, no notification of where do people go. They basically left it up to the universe to go find where you got to go apply for these. Again, not the tickets, but to be in the line to then be able to buy the tickets. And it was just a mess. I, on that day, probably processed about 1,000 DMs on my Instagram alone. TikTok had like 500 comments. People were just panicking, as you would imagine. I knew, or at least I had a feeling, you know what? I'm not going to go in on 11 a.m. This is probably going to be slammed. But I was indeed expecting an email from FIFA or somebody to tell us where to go, to tell where everyone needed to go. It was not until I personally received an email at 1:39 p.m. Eastern time when finally the email drops, "Hey, you should go to this link." Like, thanks, FIFA. Should have told everyone at 11 a.m. As you said, the registration phase was open. So that first 4 hours was just a mess for people. They're trying to log in, refresh, they're getting booted out. Unfortunately, some people did not realize it was only sponsored by Visa. And so, you needed to have the Visa card. And it was just a total mess. I finally got in, or I attempted to get in, I should say, at 10:30 p.m. with the FIFA app. So I downloaded the app on my phone, applied through my phone, done in 10 minutes. So they didn't tell people that there was also this option too. A lot of people were telling me, "Hey, do this, do that," or "Hey," it was a community effort to be able to apply for tickets on that day. So that's just on the application process alone.
No, that's kind of wild. So as this process is going on, so that first day was rough. People had to choose their own adventure to find their way to these tickets that they've been wanting to get their hands on for, decades plus for some people, I'm sure. And then so as this last 9 days has gone on for phase one, has it been okay, or has there been other issues come up?
No. So an issue popped up about right. No, just no. Just of course, there's always issues, right? About 8 hours later, or I should say, there started being some comments as I was sifting through the almost 2,000 comments I had. Some people were saying, "Hey, is it one application per person or one application per household?" And I'm like, "Wait, what do you mean?" So I was hosting my YouTube live stream the next day, and they were telling me, Travel, check out this question and check out the other question. So there's two specific questions. I don't have them listed here with me, but they were contradicting each other. One question was like, hey, the person has a limit of 4 tickets per game, total of 40 for the tournament. Cool. And which is its own issues, which we can talk about afterwards. But then in another separate question, it said 1 application per household. And as we had said, the household is defined as by the address matching both the application and the Visa credit card. So now that sent people into a flurry, so much so that you probably saw the article by Henry Bushnell, which I was quoted in, because I was talking with Henry Bushnell and coordinating our conversations with FIFA, and not coordinating, but I should say like, hey, what have you heard? Hey, what have you heard? Everyone was trying to figure out from FIFA, what the hell was this 1 application per household rule? As noted in that Athletic article, 3 different responses given by FIFA, one to Henry, then one to the Athletic, and one to me. God knows how many other responses they gave to other people, but it was basically of we'll take the first one. Don't worry about deleting the second or third one, which a bunch of people had already done by that point. After I basically said, hey, it's only 1 application. Whoopsies, go back and delete those. But then they said, we'll figure it out. That's basically how they're going to go ahead and do this whole sifting through the applications to see whether it's a wife and husband, or whether it's roommates, or whether it's, for example, as one of my followers messaged me, what if my husband and I don't share the last name, which is the case in my marriage. We don't share the last name. So like, could we apply separately? Like,
Yeah.
And
you know what?
Have that attention to detail on the rollout. Who's to say? Like, there's not a lot of confidence instilled that the attention to detail will come on the back end.
This is the kind of thing that screams to me they're going to use AI. They're going to use AI to go through.
They already said they're going to use AI and a team of humans, which was also kind of like a team of humans. Really, who are we using? Chimpanzees here to do this? Like, it's humans, right? So I think the problem with all this entire process is the lack of transparency and clarity in all this, right? How do you update the FAQ the day of when this application phase opens? That's why I didn't catch it. That's why a lot of people didn't catch it beforehand. That was the confusion. They tell FIFA, go apply. Well, not there. They literally didn't tell people where to apply. But also, oh, by the way, there's only 1 application per household, which we didn't tell anybody, except go to the FAQ, which is a link that is quite, like, it's difficult to share.
Who reads the FAQ? Who reads the FAQ?
And the terms and conditions, because I did have access to that document. I go back to it, it's like, oh crap, it did say it. They're 1 application per household. But again, who reads the terms and conditions of anything these days? Yeah. So the cynic in me wants to believe, I think they did this as a data mining operation. Get all of the requests, oh, look, people are interested in going to New York and Miami and Mexico City, variable price it. Right, because then that's the next point where FIFA actually was, safe to say, annoyed at me for calling it dynamic pricing when I was like, no, but you guys haven't said whether it was dynamic pricing or variable pricing. It really doesn't matter. The point is, people think you're doing this, and you are going to do some sort of form of dynamic pricing. It was after the mayoral candidate for New York City, Zoran Mondani, said, hey, FIFA, no dynamic pricing. I think you guys covered it on your show as well.
Yes.
I have jokingly said Mondani won the debate because FIFA is no longer doing dynamic pricing. They're doing variable pricing. But it wasn't because of Mondani, but FIFA has also not been clear about how they're going to do this, right? So then this whole, I guess you could say, conspiracy theory or reckless speculation on my end is, look, I think FIFA was wanting to do a data mining operation, get all the interest of which games or which cities people wanted to go to, and variable price that. Because I think that's how they're gonna make this operation work. Some cities are gonna have more expensive games, not because Argentina or England or Italy is gonna play there. It's just because it's either New York or Miami or Mexico City. I think that's how they're gonna do it. That's what some information I've gotten is leading me to believe it. If I'm wrong, fantastic. Let me be wrong, please. But that's what I think is what they were trying to do with this whole confusion. And all they achieved was even more blowback against them, in which I basically told them, look, you guys are the ones losing out here. I'm trying to tell them the information that you guys are not telling people, and you're making it this much harder.
Yeah. I did note that Mamdani is going went on Pablo Torre finds out to talk about this. So that's how much.
Wow.
Pablo, hottest sports podcast on the planet right now.
Yeah.
So Mamdani is
the
really
whole Clippers situation is crazy in itself.
taking his message to Pablo. So that's interesting. Let's bring in a question from one of our ultras. This is Mike Thomas. This is a dumb question, but do I need to buy this with my Visa card on file, or will I be able to switch to a different card at actual checkout?
You have to do a Visa. I don't know.
To pay with Visa.
With Visa. Now, I don't know. And again, this is another thing that FIFA has not been clear about, whether it is a different Visa card that you can use, but it has to be Visa. Remember, official digital platform partner of FIFA. So,
right.
And with this, I think people should also expect, hey, as it was in the previous World Cup, now that I remember in Qatar, you do have to pay everything at the stadium with a Visa. So do not be surprised by that.
Wow.
Wow. I think you might have said that last time, but that's wild.
Wow.
You just can only use one form of payment.
I would not be surprised.
Wow.
I guess if you're trying to limit, trying to make sure you're staying on budget, you just get that reloadable. You get that reloadable. You put on, this is my $500 I'm spending today. I'm not spending $1 more than $500, and then you go out with your reloadable. If you don't have a Visa, okay,
right.
Coming back to this question about households, so a person with two house addresses and two Visa cards can access double the tickets. Well,
no,
like if you. So I guess what this person is saying is if you have one card attached to one address and another card attached to another address,
okay, so
you have the same
two
name.
Separate households.
That's what it says. Two addresses.
Two addresses. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so because again, FIFA's looking as wait a minute, this is the same person. They might flag it as a potential ticket broker, scalper, et cetera. So, but again, who also has two households? I don't know. I know a lot of people have been asking me all sorts of scenarios, right? About this situation.
Can I use my vacation home? I don't have a vacation home, Travel. But
exactly. But but they've been asking me that. Oh, can I use my neighbor's address? How would they know? It's like, I'm not gonna tell you to use your neighbor's address like that. I mean, but
here, now we're getting into something really interesting, okay? Because if I go to the IRS and put a fake address on my tax return, I can get in trouble for that. I can get fined, maybe even go to jail. If I'm going to FIFA to buy tickets for the World Cup and I say, oh, that's my address, even though it's not really my address, am I really breaking the law? Am I doing something illegal here?
Maybe, and that's the thing. I can't give legal advice at that point. All right. I don't know if
police will come for you. Just say that.
Right. The FIFA attorneys are already here in Miami, right? So why are we going to even bother trying to fight with them in that respect, right? And so I think one of the main things that we're trying to deal with here is what exactly are these scenarios and these types of questions. I think another one was very pertinent to this conversation was the number of the family itself. So many in the United States, I think in that same Henry Bushnell article, he indicated that there was about 11.5 million families in the United States with more than 4 people in the household. So 2 parents, 3 kids, they are the ones most out of luck in this entire situation because FIFA has limited those household tickets to 4 per match. And they were saying, but in Paris, the average was 2.2 and this other tournament 2.8. They really missed the ball on, hey, this is like in the US and, for that matter, Mexico and Canada, this is a different cultural dynamic here. You have large families here in this part of the world, or at least that would have thought of making the World Cup an event that they would want to go to. So why would you then restrict it to 4? Looking back at this data from these other tournaments, that quite frankly, a family 5 probably isn't going to make the trip out to Qatar or to Paris, but they would make it out to Kansas City if they live in Kansas City, right? So that was the oversight.
The reason for this restriction is about. It's about, what is it about? Like, we don't want one household to buy all the tickets, or it's resale, right? It's scalpers.
It's resale. It's
resale.
resale.
There's a reason to do something like this, but maybe it wasn't quite thought through, I guess is what.
I would say that's the thing. And look, I will give FIFA some points on, yes, they want to limit these scalpers. I totally get that. I can see from that logic why it would be 4, but you're also not paying attention to the bias, right? The bias you're looking at is through the past tournaments, and you're not looking at the cultural aspects of this particular World Cup, where you do have large families from all around the world that live here that would have wanted to go to a game, just not even like 3-4 years, a game with the entire multi-generational household. And now they can't. I've had many people ask me, how am I going to be able to do this? I'm basically having to tell them, look, you're going to have to ask your uncle, or you're going to have to ask your brother to get your tickets for the 5th person. And hopefully, this is the other part, FIFA will sit you all together, because that is also not guaranteed.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, it's like buying airplane tickets on 2 reservations. Like, oh no, we're going to be separated.
Exactly.
Like, again, I get the idea of trying to limit the scalping. This is the thing. It would be simpler if FIFA did not allow you to resell your ticket other than back to FIFA if you didn't want to, the fact that there is any resale market is part of the problem here. Now, we've been doing this. This is all about the cluster F that was that first part and the Visa card. What's next? What happens next? And we're not at the point of buying tickets. We're at the point of getting a line to buy tickets.
So, for those live in the audience, you got 43 minutes to submit your application, just in case that you're done at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Sounds like the quickest way right now if you're doing it.
We're hearing in the chat that the FIFA app is the way to go.
Yes, FIFA app is to me, it looks like the way to go for sure. Okay, so submit that in 43 minutes, only 1 per household. If you're asking yourself, hey, can I do it this way? You're probably already overthinking this. Just submit the 1 application per household, and we wait and see. No earlier than, I think they said September 29. I've heard other people say September 30th or October 1st. Basically, those 3 days, FIFA will start telling people, hey, this is when the tickets go out. Or rather, not when the tickets go out. This is when you will go to buy tickets at this exact date and time. So if you're picked, you're going to be given a date and time to buy the tickets that is available. So we don't know if even this application process made sense, because I don't know if they're going to make it so that way you can only access the tickets that you were interested in, or they're just going to open the entire store for you, right? So again, kind of goes into that cynicism of mine of like, you guys just wanted to collect data here.
Yeah.
In any case, let's say if I'm wrong, and again, that's why I said record speculations, and that way no one goes after me. Regardless of how that works, you better have your game plan ready, okay? Do not waste time. Oh, let me check, see if this, no. I don't know how much time they're going to give you. It might be 15 minutes. It might be 20 minutes. I don't know. So you better be ready to go with your game plan, as I've suggested to many folks.
And that's for the people that entered during this 9-day window, correct?
Correct. That got picked, right? So it's the enter this time window and got their application accepted. So what are you looking for? You're looking for the tickets of the games that you don't care who's playing in. So whether that be in a specific city or a specific date and time that works for you, you don't care. You just want to go see the World Cup. For marquee matches like the final, like the inaugural, if they're available, third place, like those knockout matches, you probably want to get those here in this first phase. Because again, the idea is you don't care who's playing. It's a knockout match. You go with that. And that's it. Right? Like if you're looking for, or rather, excuse me, not just once, that's it. If you want to go to all the games at one stadium, good for you. You got all that money. You can go ahead and pick that venue series. Or if you want to follow your team, the team series option, this is when you would pick it. If you only want to go to one game of your favorite team, you're probably better off waiting till phase 3. We're skipping phase 2 because phase 2 is going to look the same as this, except it's not just Visa people, it's everyone with any card that can get in. But for those of you that just one game to your favorite team, you're going to wait till phase 3 sometime mid-December. because it makes no sense for you to apply right now and buy a ticket that you don't know who's playing in that game, especially when you're looking for that specific team.
Well, travel football fan, thank you for breaking it down on phase 1 deadline day, we shall call it. And I think I'll
Yeah, actually,
wait until
perfect
December
name.
when I can just go out there and buy one ticket, please.
Yeah, man.
But everybody who's watching, travel football fan, why don't you say which platforms you're on?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok until further notice, I suppose. YouTube and Blue Sky. Yeah, and you can visit me on my website as well. I'll be having my consultations opened up again later on this month. But folks, just this is what we're dealing with.
Can we just acknowledge the hustle? Can we just say thank you so much for coming on with us, but for doing it up for everybody else out there? Definitely lots of people needing guidance in this process, and as we talk about, it's a once in a lifetime thing, generally speaking, for a World Cup to come to your country, and it'd be nice to be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole point here, right? I know we're dealing with a lot, but I'm, myself and other content creators, we're trying to help people out, and that's what this is all about. And keep commenting on my content, folks. FIFA is seeing it. I can say that with 100% certainty. I have contacts with them, and they're seeing the content, and I'm able to say, hey, look, the people are saying it, so don't come after me.
You want to be a statue, Travel? You want to be a statue? Mike says you should be a statue.
That would be pretty cool.
Especially if there's no dynamic or leveraging prices at the end of it. I'll definitely put them at every single box office. Thank you so much. Follow them, guys. And if you're trying to get on this phase 1, you got about 39 minutes left.
Yeah. Go for it.
As we dot the map, we are going around the country, adding as many MK Ultras and soccer teams to this map of North America. So we will continue to dot the map, follow along, become a subscriber or even a channel member. But we have one more segment left this week, right? So we're going to catch our breath. Come right back with soccer under construction here on Friday's Morning Kickaround. All right, soccer under construction to wrap up Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround, and made this a segment all on its own, right? There seems to be soccer stadium news almost on a daily basis. Today, Miami FC, not Inter Miami FC. So just for clarification, but
actually, Rob, you have to be careful. I believe they like to be called the Miami FC.
Yes, and so the Miami FC, a longer history than the MLS South Florida counterparts, but you see that logo in the bottom right corner. If you didn't know, they were an NASL team, and then when that went away, NPSL, then to NISA briefly, now in USL Championship. They've been playing at Florida International University's football stadium, and now, boom, plans for a 15,000-seater stadium in a suburb south of the city, about an hour away from Inter Miami's building under construction. So kind of a battleground in the I don't know if soccer wars is the right here, but definitely two soccer stadiums in Miami coming when there wasn't one for a very long time.
Okay, so what's interesting, let's kind of thumbnail sketch Miami as far as we understand it, not being in Miami, right? And if you are in Miami or you have insight into Miami as a market for soccer, please jump into the chat. We'll put you on screen. Chris saying Pitbull Stadium. That's the FIU stadium where they currently play. It's actually called Pitbull Stadium. That's right. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305 has a deal with Florida International University, and the stadium is named after him. Or his stage name, not his real name, because his real name's not Pitbull, I don't think. Anyway, the deal in Miami is obviously Inter Miami is called Inter Miami, but they play in Fort Lauderdale, where they put up a stadium to replace the old Lockhart Stadium because they didn't have a plan yet in Miami proper. They wanted to get to Miami proper. Eventually, they found a place on the western side of the city, adjacent to the airport, on this golf course area, and it was a saga. It was a whole journey to get to that, and I covered it a lot on my old show, and people know that story, right? Miami FC has always been the alternative team, obviously playing at lower levels. They're backed by Ricardo Silva. He's the owner of the club. He's a guy that I believe has some interest in football, television rights, and things like that.
And he's gotten into the mix with the whole NASL lawsuit too, right?
He was involved in that. He was sort of the sidecar guy for Rocco Camiso. All right, let's just maybe he was like Rocco's second in command. I don't know if that's the right way. Maybe like you have a superhero and then you have a sidekick. He's kind of the sidekick, Ricardo Silva. Not to diminish the man.
Sure, he wouldn't.
Probably wouldn't love hearing it, but that's kind of who he was. Ricardo Silva is famous for a couple things in football and soccer. One of them is offering MLS $1 billion or something, some pretty big number to institute pro rel. MLS said, oh, no, thank you. And if you looked at the numbers and the math, pretty clear it was a bad deal, and MLS definitely shouldn't have taken it financially, regardless of whether or not you believe in pro rel. But Ricardo Silva wanted to make noise. I think he also took MLS to the court arbitration for sports over some of this stuff. Like this is who he is. He is sort of, again, a Rocco Camiso-like figure. Miami FC has kind of become a secondary player in the saga because initially they were part of NASL. You break away from USL. You're trying to be more independent. You're trying to go bigger. Obviously, we had a story that ended with the league trying to challenge MLS. Bill Peterson involved, if you remember that history, their former commissioner. Rocco files his lawsuit, but the league collapses. Right? The league collapses, and they'll tell you it's because U.S. Soccer wouldn't give them first division status, right? That was kind of one of their arguments. It may not be the thing that brought them down, but that's what they'll tell you. And so Ricardo Silva and Rocco Camiso kind of dispersed. Rocco was still backing the lawsuit, which I believe has got another phase coming at some point. They're going to go back to court on something. And Ricardo Silva's team,
somebody.
Yeah, it was like, okay, what's going to happen with them? If you look, obviously they moved to FIU. I don't know about their marketing budget. I don't know about how much they're putting into this club, but their attendance has dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
If there's a soccer war happening in Miami FC is not winning it. They're not even in the fight. They're averaging just over 1,000 fans a game these days.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this all about? Now, I think it's important to recognize that this is probably partly connected to USL launching a first division and Miami FC wanting to be in that division. Now, FIU has a big enough stadium, but there are probably other waivers that would have to come with that, and they don't control it. They could build this place, control it, 15,000 seats. It would reach the professional league standard for a first division team. And if you look at the map here, and we'll take that banner off the screen so you can see it better. This is the distance between where Inter Miami is building their stadium, Miami Freedom Park, and where Miami FC wants to put their joint, 25.7 miles away in Homestead. Now, I guess you can still call yourself Miami. We have teams in other sports who play outside of the city that they claim, but this is kind of barely Miami, right? This is almost like opening up a new market and trying somewhere else, even if you keep the name Miami FC, because they're probably not going to become Homestead FC, Rob. Is not what it feels like to you?
Yeah, I would say so, and definitely distancing. And maybe beggars can't be choosers. Maybe this is the only place where they could find some land. But going to the USL press release, the city of Homestead, located at the southern border of Miami-Dade County, 35 miles south of downtown Miami, continues to see rapid growth, vibrant, diverse population. They had, since recovering from Hurricane Andrew, the city has become known as Gateway to the Florida Keys, and now boasts a local thriving economy and includes close by the Homestead Air Reserve Base, agriculture, growing manufacturing, and major sports events like NASCAR and the Homestead Championship Rodeo. The rodeo recently announced it will move its events to this new stadium at the Sports Performance Hub, which is where the Miami FC stadium is supposed to go.
So a thing can be multiple things at the same time, okay? And we'll get some of your chat in here too, because I think there's some good perspective here. A thing can be about something beyond the soccer, right? This sports complex, right? This multi-use development, $300 million development project, Sports Performance Hub, which does not scream, this is about a soccer stadium. It screams, the soccer stadium is one part of something else, and maybe it's not even the main part of something else, right? So Miami FC may have seen an opportunity to get involved in a project that was already underway to put a bunch of soccer fields and a bunch of other things together and a rodeo, because that's the moneymaker. The moneymaker for the city of Homestead is probably not going to be Miami FC games, even if they do sell out the joint and get 15,000 people in the building, right? So that, again, what Chris Sau is saying, use sports, dollars, 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 dollars. That's kind of what this feels like. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad that they're doing this necessarily, and especially if it's an improvement over FIU and it keeps the club alive, because as much as I might be cynical about Miami FC and Ricardo Silva's intentions and motivations, and look at that attendance, it's pretty bad. Does anybody really care? I don't want them to disappear, Rob. So here's what Nate says. This sounds like a financially poor decision, to say the least. Building a 15,000 seat stadium when your attendance is 1,000 is insane. Build it and they will come. Do we believe that? Do we believe that this is, and again, Homestead is far enough away from where they play now that you're going to be marketing to a completely different set of people.
Yeah, because their kind of current claim was they were closer to Miami at the time, and they'll no longer have that. They'll almost be switching positions, moving out of the city while their MLS counterparts are moving into the city or closer to the city center. It's going to be difficult. I think we'd need to see some follow-up announcements that some other thing is happening, or they're turning over a new leaf in some sort, or having some sort of other big change, because to go from 1,000 or up highest, I think they said recently, is 1,500, obviously a dwindling fan base, obviously a new stadium is a big change, but other than like they build it, they will come, what is the motivation for folks to change from the pink jersey or even migrate from where they were playing at Mr. Pitbull Stadium?
Yeah, look, they're going to have to be really smart about this. And we spent that time in Albuquerque where they don't have any competition, right? And we've talked about what it takes to build a community around Portland Hearts of Pine, where they were sort of starving for a team to call their own that wasn't, say, a minor league baseball or hockey team, right?
Who's hungry in Miami for this?
This is a different kettle of fish. This is a different prospect, but you're going to have to be very conscious of building a community, and you can't be thinking we're an international club. We're worldwide. We're Miami, the city of Miami, because not only do you have competition there for the marketplace, and right now they're building a glittering new stadium, and they got Lionel Messi signed up for another 2 years. And here's the picture of what Miami Freedom Park's going to look like, slightly different than what you see down in the plan for Homestead, right? Just a little different. You're going to lose out 100% of the time. You want to go back?
Yeah.
Okay. There's Miami Freedom Park as planned, under construction right now. See the fully, now again, sometimes these roofs don't go on the way that they're planned, but I expect that this actually will happen in Miami, that it'll look like this. That's a proper small soccer venue, 25,000 seats. And then this one, the 15,000 seat venue in Homestead. Now there's roofs on 2 stands. But there's an open end, right? Limited seating on one end of the field. This is much cheaper to build for sure. Right. So there's that too. They're not trying to match Inter Miami. So if you are acknowledging this is who we are, and we can't even stay in the city of Miami because playing at FIU is not working for us, we're going to go somewhere else, and we're going to become the team of Southern Miami-Dade County. And if you are focused on Southern Miami-Dade County, and you can find people who will jump on board, and again, 15,000 is in American soccer is kind of a lot. It's kind of odd, but if they market this right, I imagine they can probably pull this off. But it is a lot higher degree of difficulty than it would be in Albuquerque or Colorado Springs or Portland, Maine, or name even Detroit. It's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, it sure is. And Andy coming in to the chat, he's in here enough, should become a member. But Andy saying, please rename them to AC Miami, which would really put them at odds with Inter Miami, which would
be very funny. That'd be very funny. I like that as an idea. They probably won't do it, but I do like that as an idea.
But you do have to question though, Mr. Papadakis. We had a video a couple weeks back about the if Papadakis is the expansion or the real estate executive at USL. He said he was talking to 70 different cities. Is this an overextension? Is this a land grab? Is this too much? I mean, as it sits now, it seems like a lot, but we hope that they can execute this and be successful.
No, of course. I hope for success here. I don't hope for failure. I can be cynical. I can be skeptical that this is the right thing for them to do. But again, it's not working where they are. If it's not working where they are, try something different. And if somebody is willing to help you build a stadium that can be a proper home for your team, then you should do it. Don't play in a football stadium, which FIU's building is. It's not a huge one, but don't play in a 20,000 seat football stadium. Play in a 15,000 seat soccer stadium. All right.
Yeah. Earlier on, I was saying the big change, and maybe this is the big change. Like if they've already lost their, standing supporters group to the MLS side, then I guess this is the big leap. But in the press release, it says this is a $300 million development, which has training academy, youth boarding school, public sports and recreation facilities, and the 15,000 seater stadium. So it's a whole big complex, but you wouldn't say it's like a cheap alternative by any means.
And when we say dot the map, this is the mantra of this show, dot the map. It is what we're leaning into here on Morning Kickaround. Spread it far and wide. In fact, if anybody's going out to a game this week, write it on a piece of paper and hold it up, right? Dot the map. We want to encourage people, because for us, I think we've come to this realization. I certainly have over my career of 15 plus years of writing and talking about American soccer. Until we have teams everywhere that we can possibly have teams, we're never going to reach our potential. Now, I don't like the idea of launching teams without a plan. I don't like the idea of launching teams without the belief they're going to last, because and in the modern era right now, that means money. You have to have money behind your project. And that's why we were skeptical about Justin Papadakis and 70 markets and all those things. But it's on some level also, if you don't do that work, if you don't sort of deliver people a team in a box, then they're not going to do it themselves. They don't have the know-how. So this is USL, and you can be cynical, you can be skeptical, you can imagine that they're doing this for their own benefit. But if that means more clubs, and clubs that are sort of ready to be turnkey successes, or at least survive, then I'm ready for that. I want that. And if we're dotting the map, we can't take dots off, Rob. We don't want dots to disappear. We want the dots to be there and stay there.
We don't want to be forced into a dot the map of dead clubs. Like, let's move on. Let's move on from all that and have the dead club thing be a thing of the past. Unfortunately, not yet. I mean, I don't know if there's been a year yet, or at least definitely not back-to-back years in USL where there hasn't been a team fall off the table. So, we're still living in that for now.
Yeah, we do have to. We will shift dots. We're okay with shifting dots to Mike Dawson's point.
Just move it down. Just move it down a touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can we throw in one more bit of soccer under construction news before we move on?
Talking Chicago?
Yes, in Chicago, news out of Chicago, Chicago Sun-Times reporting yesterday that the Chicago Plan Commission has approved the plans for the $650 million soccer stadium at what's called the 78. This is the first step. This is called first approval. You know how this works. Red tape is like multi-layered. You don't get just one level of red tape. You got to go through many levels of red tape. There was public comment. There were people from the neighborhoods of Chinatown and Bronzeville who weren't too happy with how quickly this is all happening. Angela Lynn, co-president of People Matter, if the community doesn't even know this is happening, I think there needs to be more community engagement. So she's saying that this is sort of a surprise to the people of the neighborhoods that surround the 78 where they want to build this stadium. This has been long vacant land, though. So I imagine you kind of have to be aware, like, something might happen here. We've already talked about there being a reduction in the commitment to some of the public elements of this. I could tell you what was in the plan that was approved. So this is something, whoever Related Midwest, I guess they're the people that presented this as part of the process. They presented what would be included in the first phase. So phase 1, 3 acres of sports fields, water taxi stop, public parking, Divvy bike stations. Imagine Divvy's the bike share in Chicago.
Yeah. More
than 1,400 feet of public accessible riverfront space, 1.5 miles of bike trails, and 2 temporary surface parking lots. Again, I think that's a reduction from what was originally committed to, but yeah. I don't know. Again, red tape and all these things. Want to make sure that there's, you're never going to get 100% of people, Rob. That's just impossible. But if they're taking this step and the engagement happens and we all can get over to a place of like, okay, this looks like a good thing for the people of the area, and it looks like a good thing, obviously, for Chicago and for soccer and for the Fire. Let's go. Let's go.
Can't wait to see what happens there in Chicago. Nothing simple and straightforward in downtown development, let alone in Chicago. And I think that's probably where we leave off today. We'll maybe go in some more depth in the Chicago stuff next week, but we are jam-packed with great guests next week. Every single day we have at least one or two guests every single episode next week.
Do you want to tease any of those? Should we tease them, or is that like risky? Is that risky? Because you never know.
Seems pretty firm. But hey, we got a second super thanks. Thank you to Luke for making it number 2. And I didn't even know this. So yeah, my wife trying to introduce a meet and greet with Justin Meram.
That's incredible. Justin Meram, Michigan soccer legend Justin Meram, if I'm remembering my history correctly. Iraqi international Justin Meram. Is that okay? Coming up next week on the show. And we are in a bonus time here. Dan Creel is going to join us on Monday. He is a soccer historian, very smart guy. You might find him on social media. I think he does some stuff with the Protagonist guys sometimes.
Yep.
So Dan Creel is a guy who is following and has an understanding of the lawsuit that is currently unfolding between Scott, the matchmaker. What's his last name, Rob? I forget that part. No.
Scott the matchmaker in my head.
Scott the matchmaker. This is the guy, the English gentleman, who has formulated some sort of campaign to start some sort of league that he claims is for the fans. That's what he says. He's got a website. He's got a lot of very interesting AI-generated images of people holding up scarves that aren't actually there. He's been claiming trademarks on old NASL names for a while. He actually did manage to get a hold of some names like Detroit Express, I think a couple Dallas Tornadoes, maybe some things like that. Michaels. Thank you very much, Andy King. His name is Scott Matchmaker Michaels.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. He is prolific in posting, so you can find him if you want. He doesn't like us because we said some things he thought were derogatory. But Dan Creel is following a lawsuit between Scott Michaels and the new New York Cosmos, because he is trying to claim the Cosmos brand. So if you want to know what's going on there, it's kind of the underbelly of the legal process around some of this American soccer stuff that's going on. We will talk to Dan Creel on Monday about that. Maybe we can also get a general New York Cosmos update, because of course they're trying to get ready for their launch back into American soccer. Kyle Martino.
And there you go.
Is going to join us on Monday as well. Now, we're going to talk to Kyle Martino for a couple reasons, but mainly because he's been added to the ownership group of Atletico Dallas. Now, if you watch the live show from New Mexico, you know that Sam Morton joined us in New Mexico to talk about the launch of Atletico Dallas. They're going to play in the Cotton Bowl. They have a big task ahead of them. We talked a lot to Sam, both on and off air, and Kyle Martino's joining the group. We're going to talk to him. He's got Street FC, which is the pickup app to help you find games. He's got a project that is or a company that does goals that can be installed into basketball courts to turn them into futsal courts or small-sided soccer courts. We're going to talk to him about that. I think he's also quoted in the story about NIL impacting soccer in this country. So we're going to talk to him about that. That's all coming up on Monday.
That's going to be, we're going to have to be tight to keep that to 15, 20 minutes.
I mean, I think that's going to be an extra long bonus kind of show on Monday. So be on the lookout for that. On Wednesday, Brad Stith from AC Boise is going to be on the show. He's the guy, the business side. We're going to talk to him about the season ticket deposit record that they set, their stadium plan, all that kind of stuff. We've got Alex Lubelyansky on Wednesday as well. What's that all about, Rob?
About creating clubs from scratch and the differences between the different leagues, and his most recent venture in the UPSL, which I thought was pertinent. We were talking a lot about NPSL and the regionalization of those elite summer or amateur leagues, and how the UPSL differs from those.
And then Friday, another one of Rob's bookings, Bailey Major, Cleveland SC, and we're going to find out what's going on there, right?
Yeah, we're going to dig in on the multiple parties that are interested in moving in on Cleveland, one of the remaining large American cities without a professional outdoor soccer team. And there's a few different groups trying to move in there. And we'll have kind of boots on the ground, get to know your district from Bailey, who works for the NPSL team there locally, and how both the USL and MLS Next Pro and how they're engaging with the soccer scene as it is now.
Okay, so there's your plan for next week.
Lots
Make
of
sure
stuff.
you tell people about the show. We encourage you again. And Dot the Map is not just about us. It's about the teams and all those things. But we're also dotting the map here on Morning Kick Around with new members, with all these people that are becoming ultras. The Discord is popping off, and I wanted to also share one more thing.
One more.
Before we go, which is our map of our ultras. We're starting to put names on a map. Now you can see the names on the left there. Some of them are producer Jenny's there. We got somebody who says they split time, so 2 entries for Grumpy Huey, whichever ultra that is in real life. I know this is all screen name
Grumpy
stuff.
and non-grumpy, maybe.
Right, but become an ultra. Get your dot on the map. That's what we're encouraging you to do. So right now we're a little bit heavily weighted towards the eastern side of the country, eastern seaboard, Midwest. Obviously, a couple in Michigan because Rob's up in Michigan, Jenny's up in Michigan, Luke's up in Michigan. We got St. Louis. We've got northern Mississippi. That is not Memphis. It looks like Memphis. It's very close. Baton Rouge. That's me in Northern Virginia. We've got Jersey over there. We've got out in the West Coast. We've got that's actually Lancaster, California, north of Los Angeles, where Tyler's at with AV Alta, and we've got Aaron up there, way up there in the north of California, and then of course our man Ron Patel gets some representation too because he's in Albuquerque. So get your dot on the map.
Yeah, if you're already at MK Ultra in the Discord server, you can get your coordinates in there and get added to the map as it is, and become a new member. $3.99 a month is all it costs to become an MK Ultra. You get priority commenting to these live videos. You get bonus content. We've been making more of that, and get yourself dotted on the map. And we are
now.
trying
What is this about? Luke wants to move his pin to Ohio. There's paperwork involved in that, Luke. You're gonna have to file it in triplicate before you can get your pin moved. I'm sorry, that's how it works.
And you'll have to get it the stamp. You'll have
That's
to
right.
get it. What do you call it? I don't know. The official people, whoever stamps it at the store.
We have to get a notary public
notary.
involved.
Yeah. Get that notarized to get that official MK Ultra relocation form in. Indeed. So great show today. Lots of great stuff headed next week. A lot of great football ahead this weekend. We had the Fab Four. I'm headed to Columbus. Exciting times ahead. And until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.